you like to drive around and talk about the latest happenings, this is the channel you need. So subscribe and follow Carmentary.
Welcome back to another episode of Carmentary. Neil Hartmann here with you, driving over the mountain pass from Sapporo to Niseko right now. It is another beautiful day here in Hokkaido. June the 1st, is that where we're at right now? It's June the 1st. State of emergency has been relaxed here in Japan. It's not been lifted, but it has been relaxed. Precautionary measures are still in place. People are being asked not to travel outside of their prefecture. So that means people in Hokkaido are being asked to stay in Hokkaido. But, you know, it's sort of lockdown light, as it has always been. We're free to travel around, do our thing. The weather is, I'd say it's a little hot for this time of year in Hokkaido, but it's gorgeous. The trees have greened up. The skies have been incredibly clear and blue. Yesterday and the day before, I was able to witness the International Space Station flying? Do you call it flying? Orbiting overhead. All this week, you can see it in Japan, various places in Japan. It was really cool. So 2 nights ago, had no idea this was even happening. Just happened to be outside in my front yard. We had a little barbecue. We were out there until about 9 p.m. Had a little fireworks with the kids. Looked up, it was like, look at the stars. It's so clear, beautiful. And then this light, like it's like way brighter than a satellite, but it's definitely not a plane. So at that point, you gotta go, UFO! So kids get excited. We're looking at this thing. It flies over. And then as it's sort of heading towards the skyline, but still a ways away from any mountains, and there's no clouds, it does this crazy fade out. Like it just fades out and then disappears. And we went, whoa! That was definitely a UFO. So we all got really excited. And then one of our neighbor's kids, who's like 5th grade elementary school, she says, you know, that might actually be the ISS. And I was like, ISS? What the hell is that? And so International Space Station, a quick Google turns up the fact that yes, it definitely was the International Space Station orbiting straight over our heads. And we were so lucky, we had no info and we got to see it anyway. So then I noticed that it's going to do another flyby visible the next day, which was yesterday, May 31st. And there was also that, I don't know what the exact name of it, but NASA and SpaceX worked together, put up that capsule that's going to dock or has already docked with the International Space Station. So we found out about that too. And then last night we had another barbecue. It's good, right? Another barbecue. We were outside, all the kids were there, friends, family, whatever. And we were waiting, I had the time, and I saw it come. There it is, kids, look. And again, beautiful skies. Not a cloud. It's no haze. It has been gorgeous. Thank you, global economy downturn. I love the beautiful skies. Anyway, ISS comes overhead, and then it's so clear that we notice the capsule that at that point had still not docked with the International Space Station was trailing right behind it. It was so cool. The really bright light was the ISS, and behind it, going at like Mach speed, that thing is fast. You could see this little dot that was like about as bright as a satellite. Like, you know how you can see satellites? Look kind of like that. And it was just like hurtling through space. That was a nice moment. So 2 nights in a row, we got to observe human beings hurtling through space overhead. Good on ya. So that was the highlight. Now for today's topic. What the hell is happening to my home country, America? it is just sad and awful to witness what is happening in America right now. I don't need to tell you all the news stories, and I really don't. I've been avoiding all the news stories. It's so depressing. But I did a little Googling yesterday, kind of caught up on what's been happening. And, you know, now it's we went from COVID-19 to social unrest, another brutal police killing of, you all know the story. Basically, it's just, as an expat, halfway around the world, I spent 19 years of my life in America before coming and living in Japan for the last, now almost 30 years. So I've been in Japan longer than I was in America. But America is my roots. That's where I was born, San Diego, California. A bit of experience in Northern California, traveled all over the States with my family. I love it. It's amazing and beautiful landscape. There's, some really incredible, talented, intelligent, amazing people and culture, and so much stuff has come out of America. I can't even begin to go on about that. But to see it just burning, dissolving into this dark place is it is sad, and it makes me it doesn't make me want to go back, though. You know what I'm saying? I have to admit, I am so happy that I am here in Japan, so far away from America. I feel very bad for my family who is in America and has to, sit inside that soup, that boiling pot of putrid hate that is boiling over right now. It's very sad. A couple things. I don't have any solutions, and I don't have any grand ideas, but a couple things I noticed. Even if you avoid the news and Google, you still kind of find out about these events and what's happening around the world just by looking at social media. In my feed on Instagram and Facebook, I follow, thousands of people, and there are a few who are very prolific in posting about daily events and news articles. They, screenshot news articles and put them up as stories, and there's always those people, right? And then, you have the other type who all they do is they post the cat photos, or they have just their little baby photos, or whatever it is. Everybody's got their thing. But I've got one or two people in the States who basically keep me abreast of current events just by watching what they post. So this morning, I have a quick look at Instagram, and of course, this guy's photo pops up, and he's clipped all these shots from some news story about Los Angeles and the rioting going on. And there was like 8 to 10 photos in there, and the top photo and then the last photo, so 2 photos out of like 10 photos, both showed people on skateboards in like either looting or taking part in riots. And I thought that was so Californian. As a Californian myself, and as someone who grew up skateboarding, I just thought, I don't know if that was like a good thing, but someone at the news department made the conscious decision to put those photos in the slideshow. You know what I mean? Someone had access to hundreds of thousands of riot photos. Could have chose anything. And the top one was like a guy on a skateboard, and he was like falling over. He was crashing. And below his feet, someone had either thrown like a Molotov cocktail or something. Something was exploding on the ground with like gasoline, and he had slipped and was falling over. That was the first photo. And then the last one was a skateboarder. He was actually walking like on a highway. In the background, you could see like police cars and like some kind of something going on. And it was like this solitary guy holding his skateboard, walking down the middle of a freeway or a highway. And I was like, wow, how, iconically LA. But it was kind of sad, to sort of have the skater thrown in there on sort of like the dark side, So that was one thing. And the other thing I noticed, hashtags. So hashtags, of course, are part of pop culture now. During the whole Corona thing and COVID-19, there's been a lot of, Corona fried and Corona sucks and whatever. Stay safe has been a big one, right? And it's kind of become like a thing people say to each other now. Like when you say goodbye, instead of saying see you later, it's like stay safe. As if that's like, use the force, Luke. Like that'll keep you, this will protect you. I'm blessing you with a hashtag stay safe. Now you can all go. I haven't used the hashtag. It hasn't hit home with me really, but I mean it's not a bad thing. It's like stay safe. You're wishing your friends well because everybody wants to be safe. I understand that. So now I see on my feed again people posting about these current events and the riots and the looting, and it's the same hashtag. Los Angeles, stay safe, 2020. So we've got like this multi-purpose hashtag now for all the terrible things that are happening anywhere in the world. You can just throw that one out there. It's like, if you want to be conscious, I guess you can just be like, hashtag stay safe. Whatever, terrible, hashtag stay safe. So I noticed that. I don't know if anyone else noticed that. What else? Yeah, I guess that's about it. I kind of had a feeling this was coming, though. When you lock up a culture like America and Americans, what was it, a couple weeks ago, they had those photos of crazy dudes walking into like a Subway sandwich restaurant with a rocket launcher on his back. Did you see that? And like AK-47 machine guns, like just going in to order a burger, like heavily armed with rocket launchers. Like, we're exercising our freedoms as Americans. We don't have to wear a mask and we can carry guns because we're Americans. So you had that going on, and I saw that and I was like, oh man, we are like on the edge. When you coop up people in their houses for months on end, even in Japan, there's been, Corona divorce. This is like a new word, right? Because people have to stay home and they realize they actually didn't like each other as much as they thought they did. So you got stuff like that going on. There's like domestic violence issues, like all kinds of things. But when you take it to like a country like America, I guess this is where it leads. At some point, excuse me, my battery's almost dead. I'm gonna have to wrap this up. Basically, it's like a firecracker in an oven. Is that the right word? I don't know. America is just so on edge, or was so on edge. They've gone off the edge of the cliff now, and I just hope that things settle down as quick as possible, but it just doesn't feel like we're in a situation where that's going to happen. With a wacko leader who, he must be so pumped up right now. Inciting violence is like, ooh, ambulance. Trump must just be in heaven. It's like WrestleMania to him, right? It's like, yes, the stadium is packed. Everybody wants to see some action, and here it comes. Woo! Scary, man. We need some calm voices in all this madness. Thanks always for listening to me rant on while driving in my car and keeping me company. I do appreciate that. Please send some comments. I'd love to hear what you guys think. This episode, I don't know if it really resonates with, maybe it'll resonate with other expatriates. But I really did this one so that right after this I can translate this or try to put this into Japanese. I always do these commentaries bilingually. And I think Japan, although what's happening in America is on the news a bit, they're not really getting the full picture. And I'm hoping I can share some insight into what's happening. Okay, and one more final thing in closing. A little note from my youth. Something that I remembered when I saw these news stories. I was in the States, and my first experience with like social unrest and racism and police brutality and all that stuff was Rodney King. I'm sure you remember that name. I can't remember the year right now, but Rodney King, and that led to riots and all kinds of stuff. And when I was a teenager in San Diego, it was the Bloods and the Crips. It was like gang violence, and for a little while I went to a high school in a pretty bad neighborhood. I was bussed in there. It was like one of these creative arts programs, and like they had huge fences around the high school. You did not want to go outside of the school. And you know, you hear things and you see things and there's talk and whatever. I was never in any gang violence, but I remember one day, after I had my license, it must have been like 17, I pulled up to a stoplight in my little Toyota Corolla, and it was summertime. I had the windows open. A car pulled up next to me at the stoplight with like 3 guys in it. They were definitely, I'd say 20s, maybe late 20s, white guys. And they were blasting some music, and the one guy was leaning out of the car banging on the door, and he looks over at me, and he said something to the effect of, "Yo, this guy," and he's pointing to the guy next to him, "he just shot a Crip over at blah, blah, blah somewhere. Killed him, man. Fuck yeah." He was like screaming. He was screaming at me that his buddy had just killed someone in a drive-by shooting. And I'm like, whoa, right? Like what? I'm like, oh, okay, you know, like I did not want to get shot. I just was shocked. The light turns green, they floor it. And I remember looking over at the guy who he was talking about. And this guy had a crazed look in his eyes, man. Like, I was like, there's no way that they're lying. Like, why would you lie? Why would you pull up to a stoplight and lie about something like that? I can't believe, like, it's not. Maybe nowadays with YouTube and practical jokes, you're trying to get a funny reaction. But this is like way before all of that. And that guy, the look in his eyes, man, he was like, he looked like someone who had just killed someone. And I'll never forget that. I was like, whoa, man, that was like some reality. And this was back in the days when drive-by shootings in California were like, they were happening a lot, and it was something you were kind of worried about. And usually they were in bad neighborhoods, but I do remember sometimes, like, I remember hearing about a drive-by shooting on a bridge near a park where I would go all the time. I went there to perform when I was juggling, and it was on this bridge, and it was like in the news, there was a drive-by shooting on this bridge, and I'm like, man, I go there all the time, you know, that could be me, could be anybody. So that's kind of my experience and what I, you know, grew up a little bit with in America. So when I see all this stuff on the news now, yeah, it makes sense. I mean, it's not new. This all has happened before. But, you know, thanks to the internet, YouTube, and information spreading faster than ever, it seems like it could get out of control way more than it did in the late 80s. All right, I'll leave you with that, folks. And wherever you are, just stay positive, stay calm, and hashtag stay safe.
If you like to drive around and talk about the latest happenings, This is the channel you need, so subscribe and follow Carmentary